If you gotta go, always go with a smile.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Guys, we're doing the core teams for 3v3, offense and defense. I think this is the offense video, and I've got my good friend Tassenix here. He is a fantastic player, much better than I am, certainly. And most of the people I have on this channel, frankly, are better. But I think he finished last 3v3 season in the top 5 of the leaderboard in Kyber 1, to be clear. And he's a fantastic player, knows his stuff really well. He streams, and you should go check him out on Twitch. I'm also going to be linking his YouTube, yeah, go check him out. And we've tuned him out long enough. Tass, how are you doing today?
Doing very well, sir. Thank you so much for having me. Very much a pleasure to be here.
So happy to, man. This is really fun. Yeah, guys, do yourselves a favor. Go watch him play. He knows his stuff. So,
I appreciate it, man.
yeah,
You know what I should have said? You know what the quote I should have said was?
What's that?
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
I mean, you can do that for the next one if you want.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind for the next time.
Yeah. So we'll be posting this one today. Obviously, you guys are watching it, and then probably whatever the day is after. I don't even know whether I'm gonna post this, but whatever it goes up, the next one, the defensive ones will go up. I'll probably end up linking the defensive one to this one, so we'll see in the comments. We can kind of mock the people who are like, hey, the link doesn't work to the defense one. So we'll be like, well, if you just watched the video, then you'd know that that one's not out yet. But so we didn't quite succeed. We're using mostly Tassenix's comps here, guys, because let's face it, if he's better than us, then he's probably got better comps than us. And we're keeping Galactic Legends out of it for the most part, because we want this applicable to everyone. Because not everyone has 6 Galactic Legends, and the other piece of it is we tried to make fully unique teams so that offense and defense can mesh completely, and it didn't quite work out that way. There's going to be a little bit of overlap, so just be warned. There's some, but otherwise, anything you want to say to start, Tass? You want to just get going?
Well, just when I was thinking about the offensive teams to put together for this conversation here with you, I was thinking about specifically how to deal with the set 2 Datacrons and with the proliferation of this turn meter level 3 ability. And so when I'm thinking about teams here, I was thinking about making sure I had a lot of stuff with control, shock, stuff like Huxley, things that can negate or get around turn meter. Although, as we were discussing earlier, turns out this turn meter that you start the battle with from the level 3, it's not considered a gain, so Huxley doesn't block it out or stuff like that. So it's not perfect, but I put most of my ideas that you put in here together with that thrust in mind. It's just how to deal with all this extra turn meter that's flying around more than usual.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, just seeing that extra turn meter floating around, like you say, just because, Bad Batch can end up being really fast, actually, but for the majority of us who are human and who don't have every single, we don't have all the crons, we don't have every, 12 of those same, plus turn meter crons, do we really want to use them on Bad Batch or not? Yeah, it's going to be tricky. So the first team we've got here, though, is Troopers. So what are you countering with Troopers? What's your forte? What's your favorite thing to do with Troopers?
I mean, almost any flavor of Darth Revan, you can still deal with pretty fine. But basically, that's whatever you can outrun and you think needs the offense to get the job done. I have used it in limited circumstances against dashes. Even when there's the Omicron on him. So even if you're trying to punch through L3 and you kill it, L3 comes back, you can still work that through by just building enough turn meter by killing the same target over and over Then you would have Piet use his third and dispel the taunt, and you make your strike at Vandor while you can. Like, you can use this team to punch most non-GL things straight in the face. But yeah, Darth Revan is usually my bread and butter for this.
Yeah, I mean it's a good comp. Darth Revan certainly can work. It gets a little ugly at times, but yeah, I really like. I mean it's just one of those, like you kill almost anything with this comp in threes. Like it's just nice.
It's true.
So next we have Bad Batch, and you prefer this version. I like this version too
Yeah.
of Bad Batch. Frankly, like you could replace Tech with Wrecker if you really wanted to. And that I've seen people use that, but I feel like that way is a way to peril. Frankly, I like this way a lot better. So
It's a prohibitively long time for you to hit to hit Furious. So that means you never get the chance to do that big stun with Wrecker and
right.
everything. It's super clean. Echo gets to go first. You hopefully are going against a team that had some kind of buff to start with, maybe a pre-taunt, foresight. Usually you could use this against Qui-Gon Jinn's here in 3. So, I mean, let's just say in that scenario, you're stripping buffs off. That's your bonus TM to Tech. Tech gets to stun and you're off to the races. Like, trying to achieve the same thing with Wrecker is way more chancy in
Yeah.
threes. In threes.
Yeah, it seems like it. And honestly, like Wrecker can actually be used if you need another tank. Like he's decent on other teams. Like he's Galactic Republic, so he could go with Padmé. I mean, I did that a few times under strange circumstances. Like he's got other uses as opposed to Tech is like I guess just sit on the bench forever. I'll call you when I just need a warm body with some relics on him.
Yeah.
Like some yeah, like target lock on basic. Yay. So next we've got to change that. This is weirding me out, but we traditionally I've always called him GL Newt, like Galactic Legend Newt, because he gets an inordinate number of holds for how like he always just seems so weak. Like he doesn't even have a nose. Like what? Oh, and now we're not using B1 with him in favor of having like a Poggle team with B1, and you guys will see that in the defensive comps. But so you like Boba here instead. What are you doing with this team?
So I personally haven't made use of this before, but the theory craft is right. Like, it makes sense that this works the same way as Newt Jango B1 for taking out a Qui-Gon team. And that's kind of the intended purpose for saving this for offense. I mean, you can beat a whole bunch of stuff with this team, no doubt. But the Newt Jango B1 was specifically, at least for me in the last 3v3, reserved for dealing with Qui-Gon. And since this does the job, I miss being able to set Poggle B1 Droideka. Like, I miss that. Now, granted, if I'm also setting Maul, I probably am setting like Droideka with that Maul. So it's not like I would be doing this 100% of the time. And in probably a decent number of circumstances, I might still be using Newt Jango B1. But the point that I have that flexibility and then have that extra defensive team with Poggle B1 Droideka, that's slick. I mean, just knowing I have the option.
I like being able to interchange these squads. Like, I'd really like the Boba team with Dengar and Zam, for instance, in threes.
Sure,
but that always that surprises. I got more holds against really good players than it did against like the worst players that I played. Surprisingly, because the worst players would be like, "Oh, I'm afraid of that. I'm just gonna overkill it." The good players are like, "I'm gonna cut it close to the edge," and Boba's like, "No, you aren't.
Yeah,
you're
they
die."
they don't remember about the Boba lead, and then they underestimate that rocket, and that rocket's the end of you. That's the end of the line.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Like optimize your Boba for threes, guys. It's great. Fives, I mean, make him good anyways. But so what kind of speed for this specific team? We can't really talk about specific speeds on everything, but like, what turn order you're trying to go for? If you're trying to counter Qui-Gon, like you're trying to get Boba turn first.
I like Boba's turn
foresight.
first. I don't think that you need it first. Like, since I have him naturally faster than Django, it just so happens that the turn order is going to be the same as if B1 were in there. So yeah, I kind of like, I enjoy having a generally fast Boba, but you're leading off with the rocket into Qui-Gon's face, right?
And if you could just one shot him, then great, because then Anakin's gonna go. He'll one shot
Wipe,
your whole team, and then you'll reset because you have
you
all
all come back. Yeah.
the various resolves. I guess Jango's still like, what are you guys doing? Like, I'm good.
Yeah, so it's safe and it works the same way. Like I love the idea and I can't believe I haven't thought of it myself, but it's cool. It's cool. And I miss putting that team on defense. Granted, Poggle B1 Droideka is not like a top tier defense by any means, but if you like tuck it on a back wall and it's later in the fight and you've exhausted your opponent's material, man, that can be a tough one to deal with.
Yeah, man, I hear that. All right, so we've got Hux, Red Trooper, and First Order TIE Pilot with his Omicron, of course. Now, this team is not good if TIE Pilot doesn't have his Omicron. Like, don't use TIE Pilot. Like, go just, like, use any other comp than this. But, what do you use in this? This is offense. You want to kill, like, people are trying to kill Starkiller. How much luck did you have with that last season? Did you try it?
No, I don't believe I tried it. I also don't believe I was fighting a lot of Starkiller on defense, though. A lot of people were trying to, work down stuff on my walls with theirs. But I would say that if you don't have that Omicron for the First Order TIE Pilot, OG Kylo isn't an unreasonable substitute
Sure.
in here.
I agree.
But yes, I was thinking about this for just shutting off turn meter gain teams, whoever that should be. Being out ahead of whoever you like. I don't know that I would try this against Mon Mothma, but I would say like this would devour sortie teams of any composition, and a whole bunch more. I mean, a whole bunch more. You're whoever you don't deny turn meter to, you're going to just outrun because that synergy between the First Order TIE Pilot Omicron and Huxley, everybody having advantage at the start of the battle, everybody having plus 100 speed, so zoom, 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 zoom. It's bad news bears for most anything you're fighting.
Yeah, it's curtains. Yeah, I really like this team. I think once I dropped the idea of trying to kill Starkiller, like every once in a while I get desperate. I'm like, yeah, all right, we got to try this. But like it's so inconsistent, at least with whatever relic levels I have, which I feel like these relic levels aren't like awful, but Starkiller teams are obviously going to have really high relics. And
Yeah.
once I dropped that, like this team has performed really well for me. It does a lot of cool stuff. All right, so here's one of the overlaps, guys. We have a Padmé team. We have a Padmé team on offense as well.
Well, and mine, the one that I set in here for
defense.
me to discuss was Cat, not
Right.
Ahsoka. Just so you know. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is the attack video. Durr. I'm so bad. No, this is the correct one. My bad. My bad.
Okay. Well, thank goodness. Okay. So yeah, we have the Padmé team here. It's got Snips. It's got its erstwhile tank. Mace. He's good, man. I'm always like, I'll tell you what. He's the guy I'm always confused about how to mod because he could go so many different directions with him. But, I mean, he does do a good job tanking things. So what are you doing with this team? How is this working?
Basically, this is your anti-dash. You can make dash teams as nasty as you please. Han, Chewie, Dad Bod, Kira, whatever kind of mix and match of nasties you want to put in there. This team can withstand that. And because of courage, you'll have the damage to just start knocking people out. You've got buff dispel on tanks and stuff with your Ahsoka. You've got Mace to call extra assists. If you have, I think the right Zetas, you have that Shatter Point, which is pretty helpful. And the way that I like to mod Mace, I just happen to have the secondaries to support this. So I have a potency primary cross, but all of the sets are health, and then there's enough potency secondaries throughout to add up to about 100% potency in full health sets. Now, if I had to do that in like 4 health and a 2-piece of potency, something like that, that would also be acceptable to me. But I think that's a pretty decent default modding. And I don't know, I try to have him like somewhere, I don't know, like 220, 240 speed, not a ton, but because he doesn't need to be fast because his turns are making other characters shine.
Yeah, that's fair. It seems he's pretty good. I keep being more and more impressed by him. I think he he's even more impressive in Territory Wars, of course, if you have the Omicron.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh yeah.
but yeah. All right. So we've got Bam, Han, Chewie, and I'll say this. I mean, I was telling you this before while we were making these teams. I love the idea of putting Wedge. Like if you have the Datacron, where the level 9 Datacron with Wedge, and I love the idea of Wedge crewing the lead here, just because he's going to be gaining so much turn meter because of his lead. Every time he crits, he's going to be getting it. He's going to be assisting all the time. Like, I want to try killing things with it if I ever do get that Datacron. But I think in the traditional sense, like Bam Hanchu, it's very hard to say no to this team. This team just keeps giving. Like,
Yeah.
they survive, they do all this stuff. What are you killing with it?
Well, anything at all. Like me personally, like last few 3v3 seasons, I haven't used Bam with Hanchu. I'm typically in a pre-Datacron world, I was typically using Wedge Hanchu. I just like the division of resources better. And then I would be able to do stuff like use Bam with veteran Han and some other rando, like young Han or young Lando, just taking Bam with two other random decent scoundrels and knocking out something else. But again, with that idea of being able to generate a lot of turn meter or negate the turn meter of the enemy team, I think I will be relying on Bam Han Chewie more this season, just to have that extra turn meter, B, have the extra security for our friends on the team. So it seems like a good bet to need to use that with the Datacrons involved.
All right, yeah, it's a good team. So this one thwarts my typical Thridian squad, because I like to put Stormtrooper here instead of either Vader or Scarif Rebel, or Scarif Rebel Pathfinder, by which I mean Shore Trooper. I love this team. Like Thridian is one of my very favorites on offense. But I could maybe be persuaded. Like you love Vader here. You were telling me about it a little bit before. Like what do you love about this team? Why do you
Well,
like Vader here?
well, I mean, in threes, you don't get to bounce around as many targets with Vader and Merciless. I'll grant you, but if
Sure.
you set up a cycle right, I mean, he punches into a lot of things that you wouldn't expect. Like Fin Poe. If you use you know, Thrawn lead with Gideon and Darth Vader, and your Darth Vader, your Gideon's fast enough to outrun and rip the turn meter, just completely dead ducks. Now you don't even need all that investment if you're wanting to do like Darth Vader with um Darth Vader lead with Gideon and Shore and save your Thrawn, use him elsewhere. That could achieve the same effect as what I had just said. But Darth Vader is able to take on most B teams very effectively. Gideon's your make sure I start first card. Having Thrawn in there with those two is pretty luxurious, but you could do something slick like do Darth Vader crush into pass into Merciless and then be in a better position turn cycle wise. Um, it does a lot of work for me on offense. And to your point about breaking up Thridian, as like using that against Chupio, that's kind of what I did with CLS Chupio C3PO. That's what I would use to deal with that. As the season went on in last threes, I did see that less and less. My stuff will still be modded to use that comp for sure, but I think Stormtrooper is going to have more of a home with Iden for me going forward.
Oh, I mean, there's no denying. I didn't like Sir some Stormtrooper for sure.
Yeah, so
So okay, we've got the pretty stereotypical Starkiller comp
yeah.
with EP Mara. Like this will even kill, like this still kills raid teams, doesn't it? Like it
Yes,
in
it will.
threes.
Yes, it will. And it's just another team with shock. Just we got to keep our shocks, our turn meter control. That's just going to be so key this season if you're not dropping a ton of money on Datacrons.
Yeah, man. Shock block.
Shock block. I like that.
Yeah.
That's slick. That's your tagline that goes in the corner of the thumbnail, right?
Yeah, I just had a video actually where I used that because yeah, like shock came in handy a couple different comps. It was like Sith Eternal needed to shock a really high health steal Supreme Leader Kylo at one point. So that worked, and then it was like a really fast Ray team, like fast ult Ray, and so I used the Starkiller team to keep shock on everyone so they didn't get extra turn meter because they also had the 15% turn meter thing. So
Yeah,
so we shock blocked them from being able to take turns and
fantastic.
walloped them good. Yep. So we have the Jedi Revan team with like there's a few different comps here. You put Hoda here instead of I typically put I don't know. Like I guess my teams always change. Like a lot of times I'll just put Revan with Grandmaster Yoda and Jolie, or like this is kind of Jedi Revan's kind of an intermixing kind of team. Like what are
Agreed.
you doing with this? Like
So this is just tip. Typically I don't use JKL and JKR together, but this season I think I'm gonna need the power, at least up front, at least early on, until I see how things play out and there's some data to look over on how people were trying to counter stuff in the first week. But JKR, JKL, and Hoda is capable in threes of taking on Slacker in a pre-Datacron world. I mean, this is not
sure.
assuming you have Giga Health Steal and stuff like that. So even if it can't do that here, it'll certainly handle most anything else, and it's not a bad way to go. I think I had pasted when I was showing you when I pasted you the teams that I was thinking of. There were a couple other comps of JKR going exactly to what you said. There's so many different ways to use him, um, but yeah, I think that using this supreme power version of JKR is going to come in handy in a lot of spots. I can't really think of exactly where because I'm used to thinking of in terms of fighting GLs, and this was intended about being very powerful offense. If I was fighting, I don't know what on defense. It's not GL wise, but I'm sure this could handle almost anything.
Well, it's nice to just keep a lot of Jedi for offense, honestly, just to be able to have that flexibility.
For sure.
Like they're one of the most versatile factions. They're going to be ridiculous with Datacrons this season too, and all
Very
seasons
much
to
so.
come, I'm sure. Okay, so Iden, like this team, it's ridiculous, man. It's a lot of fun. Like it can be killed by Wampa for max banners on defense, or it can kill things for max banners on offense. What are you targeting here?
Yeah, so I mean, abusing that bonus turn to get on out and stun whoever's my threat that's potentially going to go ahead of Death Trooper, and then I'm going to push their cooldowns back, and then they all die before whatever it is their whole shtick is gets to ever get off the ground. So again, it's just my thinking of gotta have stuff that's gonna negate people doing turn meter shenanigans. Iden, like you said, I'm not impressed with her performance on defense. She gets beat by a lot of things. But that being said, at the end of my last season of 3 vs 3, I was fighting Sasha Isha, and he beat me. And he beat me before I had gotten to this point, but I wasn't able to full clear his last squad, and it was an Iden squad, and I just didn't have enough stuff at the end to deal with it. So I mean, it can absolutely catch you out. But gosh, the position that we're going into, especially if you're fighting against opponents that you expect to have more and or better datacrons than you, Iden's kit is just an equalizer.
Yeah, she's gonna be she's ridiculous, man. I really like her. So, all right, Aura Singh. This is what I used to do with my bounty hunters. This is the split that I used to have because, and then I realized like at some point I was like, man, I feel way more comfortable with Bosk lead here, frankly.
Yeah.
But you have Bosk on defense, and that's fine. I'm excited to see what these comps are going to be. Like Aura, this it always just seems so dicey. Like I think this is the comp that made me finally in threes like get Mando up from like Relic 1 to Relic 5 because I'm like, man, just dies. If someone looks at him, he dies. And now it's like if they look at him with two of their eyes, then he dies. But that's better than nothing. Like what are you doing with this? Like this it's so scary, man.
You're killing everybody that you would normally kill with bounty hunters in threes with this. And to your point, my aura I took to Relic 7 a long time ago just for threes because exactly what you're saying. I definitely had my share of matches where she died too soon. I mean, she doesn't always die, but if she does die, it's usually too soon. You don't have the contract off, you get worked on out, and that's the end. So I would say for people that you can have your aura either decently high relics and then in traditional offensive bounty hunter modding, or you could have something like what you have is like level 4, relic 5, whatever it is, and you could just load her up with speed arrow, but then protection primaries around. Just give her bulk. Like her role in this team is just to survive and do hits, not do damage. That's what
Right.
you got other people for. So you could do that, and then if you're not confident or you're not in the position mods wise, you don't feel like she's robust enough to do the job. Okay, then absolutely yes, go back to boss. That's exactly what I would do. And then your idea with having like the Boba lead for that Boba, Zam, and something probably Dengar on defense, that fits all together just fine. So that's a great way to work that split depending on your relic and or modding situation.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a good team. It's a good one. All right, so we've got kind of like the leftover first order team here with Crew, Fox, and OG Kylo. This team, I mean, how often do you use this team? All the time?
I use it because of the way that I like to fight with a lot on defense. So I often have to use cleanups and backup cleanups and stuff. And this team does see a decent bit of service for me. Sometimes it's with OG Kylo here. Sometimes like when I don't have a good home for Watt, I'll just run Crew, Fox, and Watt, and that takes
Sure.
out an incredible variety of things. This does a good job against B teams. Anything that you could abuse by stunning and then just mashing them to death. And you have OG Kyle
Sure.
here to help you just move around your turn meter. Crew lead, of course, helping with that. So it does a lot, and the banners are decent. But I definitely had it towards the bottom because
Yeah.
it's a lower priority attack team to use. It's not higher. It's not high banners.
Yeah, you're not always going to use him.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're not talking about GLs that much, but one thing in threes that you can do if you don't want to use Malak with Sith Eternal on defense, one thing to deter Wampa solos, you can put Crew on a Sith Eternal squad. By the way, just because like that Wampa's gonna just sit there stunned forever, and he'll die.
It's
And you
true.
put
I had some guy do that to me last season. Now that you mention it,
oh wonderful. No,
the
I don't
jerk,
want that
the
to happen
jerk.
to you.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't care
sure.
for it.
Okay, so I think I don't remember actually. I don't know if you actually put General Skywalker on one of the teams. So apparently I have him on offense here. Do you use him on offense or defense usually?
Typically, I'm using him on defense, and it looks like with what I linked you, I still had him listed in the defense section,
Oh,
but
okay. I just must have missed him then.
or maybe I missed it. But uh,
It's all good, man.
this is a team that I
Oh,
definitely see myself using more on offense this season.
on offense, what are you killing with it?
Uh, Gosh, anything that I can't punk down with the normal counter, I'll just abuse the power of Gas's kit to get around whatever the Datacron craziness is. The idea is I'll still probably be setting a lot like myself GL wise on defense, um, but only as much as the Datacrons of my opponent will permit. And then it'll be a lot of teams that I would normally set on defense or reserve for offense just to make sure I have the material. So it's gonna be a mess, but that's where I have the most fun, and that's where I feel like I can wrest the most advantage. Is like dragging my opponents into the mud with me.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I think uh, you have some pretty awful scores sometimes. Like they win, but you have really low scores. And I'm
Ruthless.
always like, hey, that's like the score I could get, because I like to play those brutal
I had
slog
exactly
fests.
one score this whole last fives that was above 1800. So huzzah!
Yep. Yeah, I know. I had the same, and it tied solo. I was like, yes,
Yes.
I got the same score as solo, but solo kept like 5 GLs, and I
Oh
had
yeah,
I had like
yeah.
2 GLs. So I was like, yeah, I feel
Ooh,
good about it.
wow.
So, anyways, you didn't have a Geos team. I just threw them on there. I
Yeah,
like them on offense because they could
me
kill a
too.
few things.
I
But
think of them more as a cleanup
yeah,
myself, not as a standard use team. But yes, I can't tell you the last time I would have put them on defense. So right there with you. Probably with Soldier over Sunfac. The only reason I would bring
right,
Sunfac is if it was like a situation where I really needed to have the blind. Maybe that would be it.
sure, sure. Yeah, I think the blind is really good. I think, uh, yeah, sometimes I mean I just like the idea of having maybe a little extra bulk. I think that's probably just more mental than anything. Also, like having, if for some reason you need to consistently dispel for some reason, like there's a lot of dispel already on the team, so that
Mhm.
there's probably fine. But yeah, I was so sad last season. I tried to use them to clean up a couple GLs, and they were just like, you know what, this is threes, and we don't have to put up with this
Yeah,
crap. Like we're just gonna die. I was like, all right, you can die.
yeah.
I'll go be sad by myself, but at least you'll be dead. So, all right. Next we have Mon Mothma. I actually this is a 5-man team, obviously, but what I'm trying to do, I'm delineating between the Katarn and Scout, and then K2 and Cassian. I love using
Sure.
K2 and Cassian with Mon Mothma, so I snuck them in here. But you had Katarn and Scout here, which is actually probably pretty good. And I mean, I don't know what the raddest teams, the AdRad teams, are going to look like.
Yeah.
They,
I didn't put any Radis teams in here myself. I'm slow grinding that guy. I won't be any rush to get him.
yeah, same here, same here. So, what are you doing with this Mothra team again with Kyle and Scout? Kyle's only gaining like what 10% turn meter, 20% turn
Right.
meter,
And he's
not
not
much.
all that in threes here, which is why like you can Mon Mothma plus Hoth Rebel Scout, and then that third slot being either Kyle Katarn or Pow for the
Mm-hmm.
purpose that I'm talking about for offense, probably not a lot of difference. And the cool thing is Kyle is a nice like just Jedi dude in threes. Like for example, we were talking about that JKR JKL Hoda team a few minutes ago. So
Yep.
another decent a team that you could use maybe for a cleanup, maybe for a 65, depending. It's Bastila lead with Grandmaster and then Kyle. You've got all the buff spread interaction between
Yep.
Bastila and Grandmaster, and then Kyle just to go kapow on people. Um, it's a lot, man. And you know, Katarn, this Mamathwa Katarn Hoth Rebel Scout team could take on Sortie. It can take on, gosh, a lot. Like Hux, I think it takes on a bunch of different first order comps.
Yep.
Um, Probably not with crew though, I would imagine. Uh, but yes, it just outruns a lot, right? You're abusing
The
Terminator, and it's just the idea of using Terminator. The Cassian K2 thing, man, that's just classic devouring GG. And there will be a lot
sure.
of GG on defense because GG is you might say he's mediocre in fives, but if that's true, then he's especially so in threes.
He's mediocre plus, absolutely.
Yeah,
I like. So I actually with K2 and Cassian, you can take down the crew builds for first order
absolutely right.
because Cassia like they don't care about the stuns as much because Mon Mothma just uses her wand of stun invulnerability or ignorability at least, and then Cassian gives healing immunity, so you'll chew your way through it. It could get messy
And
sometimes. It
buff
could
immunity
get
on
dicey.
basic. I mean, it just work them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It gets that team, man. I love some Mothra, K2, and Cassian. I think that was like one of the Clash teams initially that I liked.
Fantastic, man.
So all right, we have the Basti GMY Jolie squad, which this is one of those. I like to be versatile because I like to be Jedi and versatile, and we kill
Yeah.
lots of mid range things,
The
kind of
point
team.
is Bastila Grandmaster plus something. Like I love Ezra in here.
Sure.
Ezra's often unused, and I have him Relic 7 with the Zeta in an offense set.
Yep.
He's decent hitting character. And then with Basta leading Grandmaster, throwing out all the buffs and everything, this
Yep.
actually hurts a decent bit. Plus, you have Ezra's third that you can abuse. You can choose to call Bastila for an opportune ability block, and then you get
Yep.
turn meter back because she's a support that you're calling, or you can call Grandmaster, hasten his next turn with his basic, giving him the turn meter
Yeah.
and giving yourself turn meter back. It's just lots of synergy in there. Like there's a lot going on in that for a B team, but Bastila, Grandmaster plus something does a lot.
Right on, man. All right, we got these last two here. We've got this, and you have relics on your acolyte. Mine is pathetic. Obviously, I didn't know there was so much yellow in the whole world, in the whole galaxy. But, and then obviously Wampa kills things.
Yeah, of course. And
but,
this is just bottom of the barrel stuff. If you have to, like if you want to do like Mother Talzin Daka Zombie on defense, or no matter how you want to use it, probably Mother Talzin Daka Zombies the better way to construct those three characters on any one given team in threes, unless you've got the Omicron on Asajj. And then I think Asajj Daka Zombie might be very interesting. But otherwise, yeah, Mother Talzin's probably going to be the way to go. And then Acolyte's just in there to fill a slot.
man, stupid Malgus. I just really want. I would really like to get an Omicron on Asajj. I don't think I can do it for threes though.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, you'll see nowhere on here did I put Tuskens. I can't tell anybody to get down with the Tuskens and invest in a GAC character that's only good half the time.
That's fair. All right, brother. So we're done with the offense stuff. We're gonna go see defense. Any last words of wisdom for people?
Best of luck and raise your scouting game. Raise your scouting game. That's going to be key because week 1 is no man's land, and then after that, it's about who can parse through the data better.
Yeah,
So
man.
good luck to you.
Absolutely agree, guys. Tass, thank you so much for joining me. And guys, stay tuned for the defensive side of this, the defensive video. It's going to be the most epic ever, I'm sure. And that being said, thank you all so much for watching. And remember that in all things, Tassenix prevails. more than I do, anyways.